Coming up on Locked On Brewers, it's Mailbag Monday. Going to be getting to a lot of questions. Stick around. It's Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, and welcome back, Cheesers, to Locked On Brewers, brought to you by Locked On Podcast Network, talking about your favorite teams every day. I'm Vinny Rottino. You can follow me on Twitter at Vinny Rottino. Also, check me out on the pre- and post-game show during the season for Valley Sports Wisconsin. Also joining me is future big league broadcaster Dom Cotroneo, of course. Make sure you follow him at Dom_Cotroneo. Also, make sure you follow Locked On Brewers on Twitter and subscribe to Locked On Brewers podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And thanks for making Locked On Brewers your first listen every day. We post episodes daily, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. We are free and available on all platforms.
Not 5 days a week during the offseason, though.
That's right, actually. That's right. I keep saying that. I got to adjust that. 3 days a week here during the offseason. So, yeah, I will make that adjustment. But anyway, we are coming to you plausibly live from the cave here in Racine, Wisconsin. And Dom, of course, is broadcasting remote from where, Dom? You are in Phoenix, you son of a gun.
I'm all over the place. I'm not in Phoenix. I'm also not in Milwaukee. I am in San Diego, California right now.
That's right.
I am very excited to be here. I was supposed to be in Milwaukee, but with the COVID rampaging through the NBA, my NBA schedule got messed up. Obviously, the Bucks are still playing, but there are no visiting teams coming, television crews, that is, coming to Milwaukee. So thus, I don't have work to do. So I changed my flight to stay a few extra days in the warmth, and I'll be back soon. Don't worry. I can't wait to see snow. And my fingers are crossed when I say that.
Yeah, smart man staying there. Look, I am a Wisconsinite through and through. I'm never going anywhere. My wife and I and our kids are staying here forever. However, I don't like winter. So there's that.
This is my first real winter, so I'm pretty prepared. That's what they all say, right? But we'll see. We'll see what it turns into. But yes, I'm enjoying San Diego for a day, and then a couple more days in Phoenix. Then I'll be back to Milwaukee until spring training.
Awesome. Yeah, hopefully spring training comes sooner than later, obviously, with this lockout, or on schedule, I should say. But, yeah, Dom, smartest questions, right, from the smartest fans in the big leagues, the Milwaukee Brewers fans, of course. And I'm not just saying that to pander, right? I do think.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I really do believe that. I mean, and so there's a lot of them here, a lot of insightful questions that we got to get to.
I can't wait. And one thing I love about our fans, and Brewer fans in particular, there's a couple repetitive ones, which is fair, and like one of them is probably the most important question heading into 2022. But it seems there's a lot of variety here, and I love it. And I think we're really going to get into the nitty-gritty here. So we got a ton of questions, some lighthearted ones, some really harder ones to talk about too. Let's go ahead and kick things off here with a question from last week that we didn't get into the pod. From Nate, because he asked just a hair too late before we had recorded. But Nate asked our thoughts on a Mike Moustakas reunion for the Brewers. And he knows money-wise it may not be logical, but if they dump Lorenzo Cain's salary, could it happen? And what would that look like? Would they actually release Lorenzo Cain? So let's go down to the bare numbers here real quick. Mike Moustakas signed a 4-year deal ahead of the 2020 season for on average $16 million a year. It's $64 million guaranteed. And he is signed through the end of 2023. So he's under team control for 2 more years. And then there's a team option for 2024 that's worth $20 million. So in essence, he is owed $52 million if he goes for all 3 of those years. That is a heck of a financial commitment. I don't see the Brewers shelling out that kind of money for Mike Moustakas, who is getting older. Granted, 2019 was a great year for him, obviously. He had 254. He was an all-star. He had 35 bombs that year. On the flip side of that coin, just to get the bare numbers about Lorenzo Cain, this is his last year of his deal. He signed a 5-year, $80 million deal, the exact same annual value, $16 million. This is the last year, 2022, of that deal. There are no options. There's no team option. There's no player option. So to put it lightly, you wouldn't be releasing Cain to acquire Moustakas because Cain is going to be walking either way. And the price on Moustakas would definitely include some salary dump, not so much like a trade, because clearly the Reds are thinking about rebuilding. But you would have to take on a lot of salary for Mike Moustakas. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I think you can. Let's eliminate the Lorenzo Cain piece to that question. Just talk about Moustakas because I agree with you. I don't think Lorenzo Cain has anything really to do with this kind of deal. I think if the Brewers thought Mike Moustakas could make an impact and could help, they would just acquire him regardless. I do think that there would be some intrigue on my part if the Reds would take some of that salary. That is $16 million for the next 2 years. You said correct,
That
Dom?
is correct.
So 2 more years of $16 million. If you could get that down, I don't know, in the range of under 8 to 10 million range, I do think I do see some bounce back in Mike Moustakas. He's going to be 33. He's going to play at age 33 this year. Let me just check that real quick.
That's right.
Yeah. So I'm comfortable with rolling with Mike Moustakas at age 33. He battled some injury stuff all last year. 2020, I mean, he had a 799 OPS. Started off super slow, only had 163 plate appearances, played in 44 games. So, I mean, he had some injury stuff there, too. If you can get a healthy Mike Moustakas, I think you can get some glimpses of what he did in 2019. I think he was showing some ability to make some adjustments with lofting the ball a little bit more and getting to the power on the pull side. So I think some of those adjustments carried over. I just don't think he could stay healthy, and I think some of the injury stuff kind of affected his performance the last 2 years. That's my take on Moustakas. I've always liked him. He's a grinder. He's a winner. He's got a world championship ring, and he's appeared in one other one with the Kansas City Royals, and he's been close with the Brewers in 2019. So I do like. I think it's intriguing. I think the money. I'm with you. It's high for what the risk you would be taking on with Mike Moustakas. I would kick the tires on it. However, Lorenzo Cain is a guy that you would. People need to understand. Like Lorenzo Cain, a healthy Lorenzo Cain, a Lorenzo Cain with fresh legs and healthy legs is a really productive Lorenzo Cain out in center field defensively, and he's also been able to show the ability to get on base. He doesn't quite have that sock in his bat as much anymore, but I do think he is a guy that you want to hold on to, and hopefully you get great defense at least next year.
I agree with everything you said. So I don't see a Moose reunion in the future. On to our next question here from Greg. Greg asks, will Corey Ray be the fifth outfielder for the Brewers? If not, who are the other options for David Stearns? So this is, I think, a really intriguing question because we saw Corey Ray for one game, was it last season, where he came in he threw a walk in Chicago. It's cool to make his big league debut in Chicago, his hometown. He's a South Sider himself. But Corey Ray is on the 40-man roster. Let's make that clear right now. He is still on the 40-man roster. He's the former first-round pick out of Louisville. Over $4 million are invested in this kid. So they're going to give him every chance in the world to prove that he belongs in big leagues. However, his injury history is very, very, very long. So I definitely worry about Corey Ray's injury history, and I'd love to see him actually play some games. He only played 39 games at the AAA level last year due to injuries. So while he was productive in that short amount of time that he was playing for Nashville, it's just not a big enough sample size. So a big thing to remember, too, is while you have the standard outfielders of Cain, Yelich, Tyrone Taylor, and Hunter Renfroe currently on the 40-man roster, you've also still got Jace Peterson who can play the outfield. And you've also maybe got Keston Hiura who could be playing the outfield next season. That has been hinted by the front office of the Brewers saying we might throw Keston in left field at some point next season. So that's just something to keep an eye out. I don't see Corey breaking camp with the team unless something really drastic happens in spring training. I would like to see him get a lot of consistent at-bats and prove his health moving forward in 2022.
Yeah, I agree with that. More to it, I don't think he's a center fielder, to be honest with you. I've not seen him great out there. Granted, it's been a couple of years, so the routes and the jumps, he can go laterally. He can get balls in the gaps. He has a tougher time when balls are hit at him or over his head. He's a tough one. He's a very tough one to evaluate on my part. I haven't seen him great. Sometimes as scouts, you see players for a 5-game stretch and you don't see him great, and you don't want to be biased with that small sample size. But there's some concerns with his game on my end. They still do have David Dahl. Did he not sign back with the Brewers? I
That's true.
thought he did. So he is in the mix probably for a role as a fifth outfielder. Keston here, like you said, I think is going to definitely mix in there. For sure, only in the corners, probably only left field. But Jace Peterson's an option as well. He can play a really good outfield. Corey Ray, there's some question marks for me on him.
Yeah, so we'll see what the future holds for Corey. I just want to see him get some consistent ABs, man. He was an electrifying player in college, so I want him healthy. I want to see him continue to play, and hopefully things can work out for him. I mean, he's got tools. He's very raw, as we've all said. We said in the scouting world, he's very raw. But
Right.
this is going to be a year. This kind of a year that it's going to have to come together for him moving forward. Another quick question here, and this is kind of a hypothetical. Speaking of a trade for Mike Moustakas, how about another trade that might fit a little more, make a little more sense for the Brewers? This is from Baseball for All 5. Shout out to your profile picture, by the way, sir. That he's got the Salt Lake Bees, the Burlington Bees hat on his profile picture. I thought that was really cool. Shout out Burlington Bees. Is Josh Bell a fit? What would a trade look like? I was really intrigued by this question, Vinny. Josh Bell, switch hitting first baseman, Texan. Of course, he had the mega year with the Pirates a couple of years ago, then was traded by the Pirates to the Nationals for a box of chocolates. It was, kind of a ridiculous deal for the Pirates to trade him, and they didn't really get much back. Heading into this year, he is in his third year of arbitration. This is his final year of arbitration. He's currently with the Nationals. He's projected to make $10 million this year, according to MLB trade rumors. Last season, he hit 27 homers. He had 88 RBIs and 261 average on a really, really bad team in the second half. Obviously, they tore down at the trade deadline. Now, one thing I want to pull up, he is a very disciplined hitter, despite people putting this slug title on him. He only had 101 strikeouts all of last season. As a power hitting first baseman, I think that's a really impressive number in today's game. And even better yet, he had more walks than strikeouts in the second half of the season when he was the only man that was lethal in that lineup in the second half. Remember, for the Nationals, Trey Turner was gone. Kyle Schwarber was gone. I think that's really, really important to note. He hit 277 and he improved his slugging by almost 60 points in the second half. I like Josh Bell. The problem is it's a rental. So you shouldn't be giving up as much as you want, and the Nationals are in this transition mode where they might be rebuilding, and the asking price may be too high.
Yeah, he is an interesting guy, right? I mean, I kind of wrote him off a little bit when I saw him in the first half against the Nationals. I thought there was some length to the swing. I thought it was kind of a grooved path where you can kind of hit balls in one location. But like you said, I just looked at the numbers real quick, the splits between the first and second half, 887 OPS. That has to be in the top 10% of the league, probably top 5% of the league overall for anybody in the second half. I mean, that is raking. The dude hit 15 homers, had 10 doubles. I mean, a triple. I mean, he really, really played well. Like you said, 42 walks against 40 strikeouts. I don't know if he made a physical adjustment. I'll do my digging on him a little bit more just because I do think it is an intriguing name. I thought I actually played against this guy my last year playing in the minor leagues, and I thought he could actually play a decent first base, and he actually ran pretty well as also 0 stolen bases last year, but he's an athlete. Yeah, he's a bigger guy. He actually put on some weight, some good weight since the minor leagues, but he had 0 stolen bases last year. But look, he is especially going into a contract year. This is an intriguing name. I would either take on all the money for no prospect or just a throw-in type deal, which deals happen like that all the time, or I would have them take the money and give them a mid-range prospect for 1 year of Josh Bell.
That's great. Now, I've got another Would You Rather coming up. But first, we got to talk about our friends at Built Bar real quick as we are in the new year. Can't believe, dude, it's 2022. This is
crazy.
This is really, really crazy to me. It's like 2022. It feels like it was 2020 yesterday still. This has been wild. But if you've got New Year's resolutions, maybe it's about getting fit, and Built Bar can help you get there. Make sure that Built Bar is in your plan, the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. It's maybe even better than a candy bar. It makes it easier to stick to your resolution because it tastes so good. You'll actually want to eat it. The Built Bars, they're actually like tasty. They have so many amazing flavors, and the numbers back it up too. 130 calories, only 4 grams of sugar. You won't believe there's only 4 grams of sugar when you actually bite this thing. 4 net carbs and 17 grams of protein in this. And all the Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. So it's a win-win. You get the best of both worlds. You got a healthy protein bar, and it actually tastes good. So you don't have to, have a secret stash here at the beginning. Have you ever like had a New Year's resolution about a diet or anything, Vinny, and then like you immediately break it like a week in, and then you realize, oh my goodness, what have I done?
Yeah, I do that all the time.
So with Built Bar, you don't have to feel guilty about eating healthy. They've got so many amazing, great flavors: coconut almond, peanut butter brownie, raspberry, cookies and cream. The list goes on. You can go to built.com and use our promo code LOCKED15. That's locked15 at built.com, and you're going to get 15% off. That's all at Built Bar, built.com, promo code LOCKED15. All right, we got a fun Would You Rather here. This question comes from Nick, Vinny. Who would you rather have? Kyle Schwarber, Nomar Mazara, Adam Duvall. Now, this is assuming for outfield help right now for the Brewers. We've already talked about Corey Ray being the 5th outfielder. Let's be honest, too. I don't see any of these 3 names coming to Milwaukee. I want to make that clear right off the bat. There's no room in the outfield, in my opinion. And I don't think you can afford Kyle Schwarber, especially since he's going to want a multi-year deal. But let's just go through the names real quick. Do you agree with that, though, real quick, Vinny, that I don't think any of these 3 guys are coming?
I love Adam Duvall. I love the way Adam Duvall plays the game, and I wish the Brewers could probably afford him. Probably can't. I love Kyle Schwarber as well. That'd be nice if the National League does have a DH. Again, the dollars are going to probably be too high. I've never liked Nomar Mazara.
Yeah, so let's get Nomar out of the way real quick. He was a former top prospect of the Texas Rangers. It was really kind of a lot of hype, no substance. He got to play regularly when the team was really bad in 18. Just hasn't worked out for him the last 2 years. He spent last year with Detroit. He was released by them in July. He's only hit .219 over his last 92 games. That includes 2020. He's got 4 homers over those 92 games. He's just never really panned out. So I don't see Nomar Mazara being on the Brewers. I mean, he would be certainly a buy low option, but
Sure.
I don't see him being really worth it, given you're already very crowded in the outfield. Kyle Schwarber is projected to be a multi-year deal, somewhere in the $12 to $15 million a year range. I just don't see the Brewers paying that for, another corner outfielder that doesn't really have much positional versatility. Yes, he can marginally play first, but watching the playoffs, I don't want him at first base. Now, the power, a left-handed power bat, is going to go a long way on this roster. He hit 32 bombs last year, 71 runs batted in. He had a great year. And then to wrap things up with Adam Duvall, he's in his final year of arbitration. Remember, he was traded by the Braves to the Marlins, and then the Marlins traded him back to the Braves. It's been kind of a wonky last couple of years for Adam Duvall, but while he hit 228, he's got you take the good with the bad. He strikes out a ton, but he's got some serious pop. 38 homers. He led the National League in runs batted in with 113 last year. He's projected to make upwards of $9 million this year in arbitration. I think he's the most realistic candidate if you were going to get one of those 3, but still, nonetheless, I don't think you're getting any of those 3. But as far as affordability, if I'm thinking like David Stearns and Mark Atanasio, I'd be going after Adam Duvall.
Yeah, I mean, especially the idea that he played center last year, which was surprising. I can't believe he played center field, and he played it pretty well. So that is a name I would definitely consider out of those 3. And then I just would say, I mean, you do have to consider also that Hunter Renfroe is kind of makes Adam Duvall a little bit redundant, other than the fact that they can't play the same position, or Renfroe doesn't play center field. But it's I didn't know Schwarber hit 25 bombs in the first half and only 7 in the second half.
Part of that was his hamstring injury and then going to Fenway. That certainly didn't help.
That's true. Okay. So, yeah, I would say Duvall you would consider, especially the fact that he can play center field. But you have Tyrone Taylor, that's probably the guy after Lorenzo Cain, if Lorenzo Cain does get hurt.
That's correct. I agree with all of those statements. But that's a good question, Nick. I really like to thinking about that. This one is a little change of pace. Current times, labor talk here, real quick. This question came from Michael. When do you think the lockout will end? And why does it seem like there's so many more lockouts in Major League Baseball versus the other sports? Now, let me stop you there, Michael. You've been conditioned to believe that. It's not true. This is the first lockout in 26 years, and it was a strike in 1994. And a big detail to remember about the strike is that they started the 1994 season knowing there was no CBA in place. So the players were always under a threat to put the owners in a strike. This is what we're running into right now. So the fact is, the reason why the owners locked out is because they want to avoid that situation altogether. They don't want to give the power back to the players by saying they can strike at any moment. So 1994 was the last time we had any sort of labor dispute in Major League Baseball, which is the longest stretch of labor peace of any of the four major sports in North America. The NBA has had 3 lockouts, real lockouts, since 1995. The NHL has had 4 lockouts since 1992, including one canceled season. The NFL had a lockout in 2011, and of course, they also had strikes in the mid-70s and early 80s. So every sport goes through ebbs and flows in this. We just can't ignore the fact that baseball went through 26 straight years of labor peace, and that should be absolutely recognized. And remember, the NHL lost an entire season. NFL lost their pro football game. NBA locked out when Michael Jordan was at his peak. Like, this happens in other sports. It's recency bias, in my opinion.
You know what? I've just been educated big time by you, Dom, because honestly, I think people just hear about baseball more in the media about about lockouts and about strikes. That's just maybe again, that's more some sort of bias on my part to think that that's the case for everybody.
And we're neck deep in baseball too, so it feels like it's our entire world.
That might be the case. So that I'm just curious. Maybe, yeah. I mean, if who asked this question? What was his name? Michael. So maybe Michael's a baseball fan, just as big of a baseball fan as I am. To think that I've kind of thought the same way, but maybe we also both think that the media portrays baseball and kind of highlights baseball lockouts and strikes more so than the other sports, but maybe that's not the case. Dom, would you dispute that? I think you are disputing that, which please do, because I think I am biased because I am just paying so, like you said, so knee deep or neck deep in baseball coverage.
My big thing, and I'm getting on a tiny, quick soapbox here.
Yeah.
People like to complain about baseball because they like to complain, not because they actually hate baseball. I truly believe that. I think baseball is absolutely the best it's ever been played right now. I don't care what you say about strikeouts and shifts and things like that. These are the best athletes to ever play baseball. And we are complaining to complain, not because we actually don't like the product on the field. That's what I truly believe. Okay. I really, really love baseball right now. And it breaks my heart a little bit to see it disputed like this, but understand that it's part of the process. There's a reason why the Players Association, the Players Union, is the best players union in North American sports. It's for moments like this. And the reason we love our players and love this sport is because they can sit at a negotiating table and figure out how to divvy up these billions with a B of dollars amongst people. But to the first part of that question, when do I think the lockout will end? We're going to see negotiations pick back up here in the next couple of weeks. I don't see any sort of urgency until February, so I wouldn't panic if we move into February and we're still technically locked out in the middle of negotiations. I'd be shocked if we missed opening day, absolutely shocked. I could see us missing a week or two of spring training, but that's, I think, at the absolute latest.
I hope you're right. I really do hope you're right. That's the things that I've been hearing and reading as well, and I'm optimistic that that's probably the case. I will panic if opening day is close, very close, and then a deal isn't reached.
All right, a couple more questions, and then, yeah, absolutely. A couple more questions, and then a couple lighthearted ones before we say goodbye. This one is from our favorite Twitter account, one of our favorite Twitter accounts. I'm not playing favorites. American Family Pigeon, American Family Field Pigeon. Who on the staff will make the biggest jump? I think this is a fun, great question. Yeah. I've said this about every question, but I've got my pick. I want you to go first here, Vinny, if you are ready to. But I really like this question because there's so many different ways you can go with this. Who's your pick to make the biggest jump on the pitching staff in 2022?
Biggest jump, I'm going to just go with a kind of obvious choice is going to be Aaron Ashby, right? I mean, I think
Mm-hmm.
we saw glimpses of what he can do over a short stretch of about a month out of the bullpen. Um, if you take away his first and last outing, he was one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. Just looking at all the metrics, the strikeouts, he didn't walk anybody. I mean, he just had a handful of walks, and he had been known for walking some guys in the minor leagues. So, I mean, if he can show that kind of control and command of his stuff is elite. He's got a absolutely devastating arsenal to opposing hitters. So, he continues to repeat that delivery. He continues to refine that command and control. I think Aaron Ashby is going to be a big asset for the Milwaukee Brewers, and I would like to see him actually in that sixth spot in the rotation. I mean, that is a formidable six right there if you count Aaron Ashby in that mix. So, um, I think it's Aaron Ashby.
That's a great pick. I'm going with another lefty. I'm going with Eric Lauer. And here's why. I got some numbers to back this up. Remember, his second half was so under the radar, given what Corbin was doing and what Peralta was dealing with his health and what everything was going on with his club. Eric Lauer was a massive part of this second half as they were trying to figure out what kind of role him and Adrian Hauser would have coming into playoffs. Lauer's second half, he lowered his ERA by better than a run. He dropped his ERA in the second half to 2.20. And then his whip was sub 1 in the second half as a starter. That's a freaking ridiculous number. It was 0.963 in the second half, which is really good as a starter. And this is my favorite stat. Over his last 15 games, so this goes into the first half. Over his last 15 games, 14 of those were starts. He only allowed 6 home runs over those starts and games, which also equated to a 285 opponent slugging average. That is an incredible and, quite frankly, just out of this world thought in this modern baseball summer. It's hotter. The ball is jumping. Teams have seen you multiple times. It should be harder to pitch against these guys. And he held them to a sub 300 slugging for his last 15 games. I think that's going to be huge moving forward.
Yeah, Eric Lauer, he really figured something out with that shortened arm action that Chris Hook helped him with, and the pitching guys helped him with, and then also he really kind of solidified his arsenal and just was consistent with that fastball cutter and then slider combination. I think he's still trying to figure out exactly what his pitches are called and what they're going to be, but he mainly went to fastball slider cutter or fastball cutter, but that cutter and slider really blend together. But he simplified things, and he was lights out, and he was a huge part of the success for the pitching staff for the Brewers.
Thanks for the question from the Pigeon. We got a few more, but before we get there, we're going to take a quick break. All right, our final couple of questions here, Vinny. First of all, this one I want to just address very lightly, very quickly. This is the question I kind of teased at the start of the show that we're going to get a lot, and maybe it's the most important question heading into 2022. Will Christian Yelich turn it around? This question came from Ian. It's very easy to sit here and say, yeah, he's going to turn it around. It's very easy to sit here and be contrarian and say, no, this is a Christian Yelich of news since he broke his kneecap. I don't know. That's just the simplest way. But me being an eternal optimist, I went on the hunt, Vinny. I went on the hunt for this. Since August 1st to close the year, he was hitting the ball really hard. And remember, in the first half of the year, he was not hitting the ball hard at all. It was really tough. He had the back issues. He looked healthy for the final 2 months of the season. Since August 1st, he had a 49% hard hit rate, which is pretty good. It's among the best in the league. But, I mean, it's over 2 months, right? Like, what can he actually do? This is where I find good news. 49% hard hit rate matches the hard hit rate he had in both 2018 and 2019. I think that's something really important to note, that he is actually healthy. Now he's got a healthy offseason. I don't know if he's going to turn it around. I certainly hope he's going to turn it around for his sake and for the Brewers' sake. And he is the main cog. And Bill Schroeder said it so many times on television last season. If Christian Yelich got going, and he did get going there a little bit there in late August, that team is a legitimate World Series contender, and you can't tell me otherwise.
No, I mean, I 100% agree, especially with the other pieces that you have around him. A lot of guys getting on base, a lot of guys just contributing up and down the lineup. They were a team full of baton passers. That's what Andy Haynes, hitting coach that was fired, he continued to say that, talking about baton passers. And then if you have a Yelich, a 2018 or 2019 version of Christian Yelich that's in the middle of that, watch out. I mean, you're going to be putting up some crazy numbers offensively as a team with Christian Yelich. Is he going to get there? I've been saying this just like you, Dom. We don't know. I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen a player be that good and then kind of that bad, really. He was hitting the ball hard at the end. He just wasn't clipping it out in front and getting that loft to those baseballs and being able to be consistent with hitting those home runs like he was in those previous 2 seasons. So we'll see. I'm a believer in the talent. Like I said, I've not seen many players do what he's been able to do with being able to barrel up baseballs like he's been doing. But we'll see. Hopefully he can do it. I'm leaning no way on this one. I'm leaning right in the middle. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. And Ian had another question that was interesting. How does Mario Feliciano fit into the current role of the Brewers? Of course, Mario made one pinch running appearance last season when there was like 5 straight injuries to the Brewers catchers last season. He's a top catching prospect for the Brewers. He's going to fit in AAA because you've signed Pedro Severino to be the backup catcher now that Manny Pena has gone to Atlanta. Omar Narvaez is still going to be the everyday catcher. The reason why I say Mario stays in AAA, first of all, he's only played 35 total games above high A in his minor league career because of the 2020 minor league season being canceled. He only played a handful of games in AA in 2019, and then he went straight to AAA in 2021. So I'd like to see him get a little more acclimated to higher level pitching. And he's also coming off of an injury in 2021. He had shoulder impingement this year. So getting him healthy is going to be the big priority moving forward for him. He played in the fall league. He tried getting healthy. He just needs APs right now, I think.
He played pretty well in the fall league. I've always liked Mario Feliciano. I mean, he was the youngest player in the Midwest League back in 2017, I believe was his debut, 17 or 18. It was the youngest player in that league out of Puerto Rico. I think he was a comp pick. He's got talent. I mean, he works out with Yadier Molina in the offseason. I mean, he's been under his tutelage. He's got a very good knack for the game, and he's got a ton of instincts. He's learned how to call a game. I like Mario. I'm with you. He's going to be in AAA. He's going to continue to develop down there. But I do think he is the catcher of the future.
Absolutely. All right, we're on our final question here, Vinny, on this amazing Mailbag Monday. As we get ready to wrap up, I just want to remind everyone our schedule this week, 3 shows a week right now during the off season. We will not have a Tuesday show tomorrow, but we will have a Wednesday show that will be our interview. We're going to hold back on who our guest is, but you're going to really love it. And I'm just going to give a tease. This person was in American Family Field this year and actually was on the field, but was not a player. All right, so that's your tease. That's going to hopefully come on Wednesday for you guys. So no episode coming tomorrow. As we get to our final couple questions, these are lighthearted questions, Vinny. This came from MVP Nacho. Got any Vinny baseball cards? And this leads me to the follow-up to you. What was it like seeing your first baseball card, Vinny?
Yeah, my goodness. When I first signed, it was all surreal to me. And in fact, when I was playing, I was playing in rookie ball, and I was asking people, like friends and family that would come to the games in Helena, Montana is where I play. I was like, does that look like higher level baseball to you? Because it's I'm telling you, it's surreal. And they were all telling me, yeah, you guys look like major leaguers out there. Now, I know we weren't playing at that kind of level, at that kind of speed, but to kind of be on that field, put on the uniform of a professional baseball player, it is a cool feeling. And then to see that baseball card for the first time, it is definitely surreal. And I was grateful for every single day that I put on a uniform. But yeah, I definitely have a handful of baseball cards. So I think he followed up with that. The fact that he does have a Bowman card of mine. So might have to get that one signed for you, Nacho.
Signed it and get it to rate it to a 10 and then sell it on eBay for
12 cents.
12 cents. Okay. I tried to give you some love there, Vinny. Hey, it's still worth more than my baseball card, that's for sure. I want to thank you for taking some time. Real quick, you got any connections to John Jaha? We got a question if we can get John Jaha on the show. I got no connections to John. I'd love to meet John.
I got no connections with John Jaha. I will say when I was going to the ballpark at age 7 to 12 or whatever, whenever I was watching the Brewers, he was one of my favorite players. It was fun to watch him and Greg Vaughn sit in the middle of that lineup and hit bombs to left field. Those guys could hit bombs.
Absolutely. So Gorman's Tap Room, we'll try to get him on maybe if you got any connections for us to get Jaha on. We'd love to go down memory lane with John Jaha. But
yeah.
Happy New Year, Vinny, man. It's our first show of 2022. Felt good to get it out of the way.
Absolutely. Happy New Year, Dom. Welcome back to Wisconsin in a couple days, buddy.
Yeah, I'll be back on Wednesday. So appreciate everyone bearing with me here for, rubbing it in everyone's faces. But hey, Badgers get to rub it in my face since my Sun Devils really did not play well the other night. But hey, it's all good. All good things. It's bowl season, whatever. It is what it is. We're a baseball school anyway. For my partner, amazing man, Vinny Rottino, I'm Dom Cotroneo. Remember, like, subscribe, follow us on Twitter, do the whole thing, rate us on Apple Podcasts. It may not seem like a big deal, but like putting a 5-star on there, dropping a few kind words, it really means a lot to us and to our bosses, by the way. So it's really, really cool if you guys do that. We really would appreciate that as we move forward into 2022. Big things coming, Vinny. Thanks for your time, man, and Happy New Year, dude.
Happy New Year.
Thanks guys. We'll see you guys on Wednesday for our next episode of Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.